Yo, what's up, guys? It's John with the very first episode of the Young Wise Man podcast. I don't think wisdom is good if it's not shared. So, in this podcast, I plan on sharing the wisdom that I've learned the hard way, and sometimes I've learned the right way, which is listening to other people and not just thinking you have it all together yourself. Now, to kick off this podcast, I'm going to be on YouTube. I'm going to be on audio devices everywhere, streamed out there. So wherever you get your podcast, you can find me. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff that us podcast people are supposed to be doing. But regardless of all that, man, what I want to talk about today is how come, and I know I'm not the only one, but how come in life we have these ups and downs of motivation? We have times in our life where we really feel super motivated to do stuff and to do the things that we know we want to do and pursue our goals. And then we have other times and periods of our life where we don't have that. We're not as motivated, or we're down, we're in that slump. And I want to break down what I've learned about motivation, at least where it comes to myself. You might be in the same boat, you might not be. But I guarantee these three things that I got to share with you today, these nuggets that I'm going to drop into your ear, if you're not feeling motivated, you can apply these things in your life. And if you are feeling motivated, you're going to see how these three factors play into your motivation for life. The age-old marketing question is, how and why are people motivated? Obviously, for marketing reasons, it's why are people motivated to buy my service or my product? But we all are studying to find out what motivates us, what moves us forward. And if we can tap into the secret formula, that's how you become an elite performer. Or, as I like to say it, somebody that just reaches their potential in their life. But before I jump into the three factors of motivation, I got to take you back. We got to go on the journey decades ago in my previous life. I know they called this the Young Wise Man podcast, but I am still young, but I've had like 3-4 careers already in my life. And for those that don't know, I spent 10 years of my life fixing cars. I love cars. I was a car guy in high school. I just had my first automotive job at 16 years old, working in a shop. I went to school to learn about cars, and I spent about a decade in that industry in field. And the very first day after school was over and I had my first, big boy job, they only give you the oil changes. They give you the tire rotations. And I didn't go to school to learn how to rotate tires and change oil. I was trying to rebuild engines. I was trying to be fast and furious. That movie sparked a movement for people my age to get in their car, shift gears like 20 billion times, and speed down the highway. Thank God I survived all those crazy drives that I once did. But I'm in the shop for my very first time, and I get this car. It's an Audi, and it's misfiring, which, for those that don't know, means one of the cylinders isn't hitting, right? So there's something wrong in the engine because the engine's not hitting on all cylinders, and it makes it shaky, rough to drive. And I just had to go back to my training. And this is where the three-factor motivation comes in. What I remember from my training in school when I was hit with my very first ever diagnostic question in the automotive field was, okay, if there's something wrong in the engine, there's three things needed to make the engine fire. That's why I call this episode Dead in the Water. Because if your engine is dead, if your engine's not running on all cylinders and it's not moving forward, you got an issue in one of these three areas, the three factors of motivation. So when it comes to cars, when it comes to combustion engines, you need three things to make the cylinder run. Obviously, there's a lot more. It's a lot complicated. But when you're trying to diagnose and figure out what's wrong with the cylinder or why a car won't start or is not running right, you have to check these three things, and that's compression, fuel, and spark. right? This is gasoline engines. We're not talking about diesels, we're talking about gas engines. You need compression, you need fuel, and you need spark. And what I started doing was eliminating and figuring out what was wrong with that car. And it turned out for that Audi, it did not have the spark. The spark plug was bad. And after I replaced that, it was running just fine. Right. So, what does this have to do with motivation? What does this have to do with my life, with your life? Everything, everything. Look, if you want to have motivation and you want to have something going forward in your life, you need compression, fuel, and spark. Right. I mean, if we're like engines just chugging along, and if we're not moving forward, we've lost power somewhere. This is how you diagnose yourself. There's got to be compression, there has to be fuel, and there has to be a spark. So the compression, what is compression? Compression is pressure, right? Pressure. To be motivated, to be moving forward, to be humming along as a human, like we're designed to be, there have to be pressure, right? I mean, if you're anything like me, I love ease. I love comfort. I love the low key, just kicking back and everything's going perfect. I mean, that's what our desire is, at least in America. We love the easy. The easier it can be, the better, right? The cheaper it is, the awesome. Like, it's easy, it's simple. I'm all there for it. But the truth is that if you're not under pressure, you're going to be a dead cylinder. Your engine is not going to be firing. You wonder why Tom Brady keeps chasing these championships, and because he just still has this pressure that he needs to keep performing. Most people are just trying to get one. Most people are just trying to get to the NFL. Some people are just trying to get a job. But if there's no pressure in your life, you're going to have no motivation. You're going to be a dead cylinder. You're not moving forward. You have to have pressure. So if you're sitting on the couch, if you're going through life and you feel like you're low on motivation and you're not feeling it, you're not moving forward, you feel stuck, you're in a rut, look and take an exam. Where is the pressure at in my life? Sometimes we have financial pressure. Sometimes we have relational pressure, emotional pressure, spiritual pressure. Our health and fitness becomes a pressure. There's all these factors of our life that puts pressure on us, our boss, our kids, our spouses, whatever it is for you, I don't know. But I do know one thing, that if you're not under pressure, you're not going to perform. Now, the strange thing is, us crazy people, and I'm including myself in that, I actually look for opportunities and scenarios to put myself in pressure. If I'm looking around at my life and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And there's nothing moving forward. I said, where's the pressure? Like I said, I love ease. I love comfort. I love all those things. So if I'm stuck in ease and comfort and blah, 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 and there's no pressure in my life, no wonder I'm not going anywhere, because I'm not under any pressure. When I quit my job in the automotive field and I opened up a kickboxing franchise, I quit that job and jumped in, and there was pressure because I didn't have any income coming in. The other business that I started previous to that, the pressure wasn't there because I was still working that job, and I didn't have enough motivation to work at it hard enough because my income was coming in. I had a lack of pressure and my motivation died. And you know what? I shut down that LLC. It wasn't for me. I check it off the box as a lesson learned. But that's what I'm saying. Like, is there pressure in your life? Is there a pressure in your circumstances? Is there a pressure in your pocketbook? If something's not pushing you, you're not going to be moving forward. So that's the first factor of motivation. There has to be compression. There has to be pressure somewhere for you to start to perform. Now, we have to move into the second thing, which is fuel, right? We all love high octane fuel, and the higher the octane, the more pressure it can withstand. Now, that's a different topic. But what is the fuel in the three-factor formulation for motivation? What is the fuel? And the fuel is desire. Now, this, you can't give this to nobody, right? I mean, we can't force somebody to desire their situation to change or to desire something in their life to be different. There's no way, right? No way you're going to get desire out of somebody because it comes from within us, right? So if you have compression, is there pressure in your life? A lot of people are under pressure, right? There's plenty of people that got pressure financially, emotionally, relationally, you name it. They got pressure coming out of their ears. But what they don't have is desire, right? That's something inside of you that just blows up and comes out. It's the fuel that propels you forward, is your desire for X, whatever it is that you feel like you need motivation in. Like if you struggle to get to the gym and you're struggling in your health and your fitness and you just don't understand, these people, fit people, they don't want to eat burgers, they want to eat kale. Like, I don't get it. The problem is their desire for a certain look, aesthetic, or their desire for a certain health benefit is greater than yours, or you don't even have that desire, right? And you know what? It's okay if you don't have the desires. Sometimes people feel like, when I talk, that you have to be like me, right? Like, you don't have to be like me. I want you to be honest with where you are in your own life. So do you have a desire for whatever it is that you're hoping to get out of life? Because if you have a desire for something, you'll do something about it. You'll put fuel in that engine and it will be rolling right along. But don't lie to yourself and sit on the couch and say, like, yeah, I really want to work out, or I wish I had more money, or I wish I knew more about this. I mean, if you really wanted to, go do it. I mean, we live in the world, for the most part, like, everything's available to you all the time. The internet is full of free information, but people that don't have the desire aren't going to go after that. And that's okay, right? Just know where you're at, stay in your lane, and it's all good. But if you feel like you don't have motivation in your life, or you're lacking it in a certain area, after the pressure, which you're under pressure, go check your fuel, check the desire, see if it's really something that you are looking for in your life. So we talked about compression, which is pressure in our life. We talked about fuel, which is our desire, our passion, our drive to want to do something or whatever that is in our life. And then the final ingredient here in our 3-factor motivation inaugural episode here, Young Wiseman podcast, is spark, right? You need something that is going to set all that pressure and fuel on fire. So what happens in the engine, right, is when the piston goes down and comes back up, it creates high pressure, high pressure. That's why they use turbochargers, because they can put more pressure in the engine, and then they dump all this fuel in there, and it's just the environment is primed and ready to be set on fire. It's primed and ready for the explosion of energy to just push that piston down and to push that car down the road. And that is exactly what happens when we add the spark. The perfect timing that the spark hits the fuel under pressure, it causes an explosion. The energy transfer goes from fuel to flame. It is crazy. But without the spark, ain't nothing happening, right? So what is the spark in our 3-factor of motivation? You got pressure in your life. You got the desire, but you're not moving. And you know why? Because you're missing action. The spark is the action. You're missing action in your life. Now, I dropped a YouTube video a while back about what comes first, the chicken or the egg. What comes first, motivation or action? And my philosophy is action starts, motivation follows, right? So here in the 3 factors of motivation, that spark is your action. You're under pressure, you got the desire, and you need to start taking action to set that chain reaction off and to just feel the energy burst that comes from action, right? It comes from action. You got to do something. You can't sit around and wait for the motivation or wait for something to come happen to you. You got to go do it, right? People ask me like, oh, you love working out, all this stuff. I don't really like it that much. I've just forced myself to do it so many times for such a long time that at this point, like I have to do it. But there's so many days, who wants to wake up early? You just got to get up. You got to get out. You just got to do it. I mean, even this stuff right here, creating content and podcasting and whatever, like you just got to do it. Like I don't feel like doing this stuff all the time. Nobody is just like born super motivated 24/7. There's people that take consistent action though, and those are the people that you look at and you're like, man, that person is just a motivated person, or it's their personality type, or whatever excuse that people come up with. But the real proof is people are consistent in their action. Those are the people that are consistent in their motivation, right? They don't stop, because action is something you have to be consistent with. So the three factors of motivation: you got to have pressure in your life, you have to have fuel, you have to have a desire for some change to move, and then you have to take action. And you need all three of these things for your cylinders to run right. Your engine is not going to run good if you're missing any of these things. And you know what? You're going to be dead in the water. You're not going to be doing anything. So what I do is, if I feel like I'm dead in the water, I feel like there's an area of my life that's misfiring, that's not going the right way, all I do is break it down. Do I have pressure? Do I have the desire? Am I taking action? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. And you know what? Be real with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. It's so easy to justify things, make excuses in our head, feel good about it. We'll have a friend come and say, oh, it's okay, you deserve that, whatever. Just be honest with yourself. You know what? I didn't take any action. So it is what it is. I don't really have the desire to do this thing. So I'm just really not doing that thing. Stop feeling bad about it. You're not doing it. It's okay to not do it. Just be honest with yourself and say, I'm not doing it. And that's why it's not happening, right? People live in la la land. And then the last thing I want to leave with you all today, before I wrap up this first episode here of the Young Wise Man podcast, is that an engine has compression, fuel, and spark, and then it pushes the piston down. But then the piston has to come back up, and it has to happen all over again. If you want to go down the highway, 10 miles down the highway, there's going to be thousands, tens of thousands of pressures, fuels, and spark combinations that have to happen, right? So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? If I'm here today, maybe I have pressure and I have a desire and I take action and it explodes and I move forward 6 inches. If I want to go somewhere far down the road, I'm going to have to do that repeatedly on a consistent basis. And then one day you're going to wake up, you're going to be like, man, I'm like 10 miles down the road. So that's my 3 factors of motivation. Maybe you learned something about cars today. Maybe you learned something about yourself, being motivated. Hopefully I'll drop some wisdom in your ear and you can take some action and do something with it. Now, I appreciate you tuning in today, checking this out. Like I said earlier, on YouTube, where all your podcasts are, feel free to subscribe, share with a friend. If you know somebody that might be struggling with some motivation, share this with them. There's nothing that makes a content creator happier than other people sharing their content and it blessing other people. My whole thing in life is all about be a blessing to others. So hopefully my wisdom is your gain. And until next time, it's the Young Wise Man, John Shafi'i.